Welcome back to another episode of the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. I am once again joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today?
Fine, thanks. How are you, Nate?
I want to start off with this breakdown. I'm good, by the way. I want to start off with this sort of breaking news that broke yesterday, actually. Deshaun Watson's suspension was raised to 11 games after a settlement between the NFL and NFLPA, along with Deshaun Watson, and the NFL also got what it originally wanted in their original indefinite suspension and fine, with they ended up actually getting a $5 million fine added on to that suspension, which was the most in NFL history for a player. Goodell actually commented on the settlement saying, quote, Deshaun Watson has committed to doing the hard work on himself that is necessary for his return to the NFL. The settlement requires compliance with a professional evaluation and treatment plan, a significant fine, and a more substantial suspension. So basically that means if Deshaun Watson does not go through with this treatment plan, it'll actually be a longer suspension than the 11 games. His reinstatement will be delayed because he hasn't gone through with the necessary treatment that he needs, what the NFL and NFLPA agreed on in the settlement. So what's your reaction to the settlement? Are you surprised? Are you basically saying Deshaun did this because he could be guilty and doesn't want to see it? Like, what's your reaction about this whole thing?
I'd say he got lucky.
Really?
Yeah, that it's only 11 games and only $5 million. I mean, they could have suspended him forever and not be able to play at all, which might have been the appropriate punishment. So I think he's very lucky to be able to play this year at all. And, the $5 million to him, that's not much money, right? He's got his contract's huge.
Yeah.
So, although this year's amount is pretty small, right? It's like it's all backloaded. Yeah.
The Browns, when they signed Deshaun Watson, they made it so the first year is only a $1 million cap hit. So he's not going to be making much money at all.
Yeah. So, who's the quarterback they have now to take him the first 11?
Jacoby Brissett will be the backup.
Well,
they're now the starter.
I would say I'd be surprised if they're in contention by the week 11 when he can start playing. We'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe now that they know it's 11 games, maybe they'll try to go get somebody else. But who would want to come?
Jimmy G?
Yeah. Would he want to come there, though, knowing that he's only going to play 11 games?
Well, yeah, I guess that's a good question mark.
I doubt it. I think, well, anyway, you asked me what I think he got lucky. Whether he follows through with this treatment plan or not remains to be seen. The guy is somewhat of a head case, so whether he follows through with that and doesn't wind up getting himself even further suspended remains to be seen.
Right.
But my view is he got lucky.
That's good. The Browns owner, D. Haslam, was very optimistic about the treatment plan, saying we respect his opinion. Haslam said about the judge's ruling. I do think in counseling, Deshaun will grow to learn a lot more about himself. If you know anything about counseling, it takes a long time to go through the process. And I agree with that. It's not something you can do straight overnight. So Deshaun Watson will need to seriously commit himself to getting right in order to be reinstated. He has 11 weeks. The suspension starts on August 30th. So it goes until about, November 12th, I think that's when it is. And the first game back will be against the Texans. And I think the NFL was thinking maybe a game before that, but then I think the NFL took a look at the schedule and realized, oh yeah, he might play Brady in the game before. So Deshaun Watson's huge, mess, and then Brady's brand, I just think that wouldn't clash very well. So they decided, let's just push it back a little bit. It's the Texans. He's up against the Texans, which is, his former team. That's how he's opening up his season potentially with the opening team. And I don't think it's 11 games, right? I think if Deshaun Watson was out an entire season, they would probably go out and get Jimmy G. But I think it's 11 games, and their schedule is not the hardest, but it's also not one of the easiest. I would say, there's some teams there that struggle, that would make the Browns struggle. But I think they're going to commit with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett's been a starter. He's backed up Brady. He started when Brady was suspended.
Yeah. They have who else do they have there? Who's the backup for Brissett?
Joshua Dobbs.
I never heard of him.
He's been I don't think he's ever started. But
I thought they had a rookie there too. Don't they have a?
Not on the Browns. No.
Not on the Browns. Yeah.
Just some random they have some challenges. They play the Chargers. They play the Ravens. They play the Patriots, Bengals, Bills, and Bucks before Deshaun would come back. Those are just some of the games that are challenging. But the opening game against the Panthers, that won't be Deshaun versus Baker. That would
Baker
be,
Mayfield is going to be pumped for that game.
I would say so. That's actually
And
one
I
I
would
was
say
talking
that
about
the
later.
Panthers will beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I'm not surprised that I didn't think that the NFL. I hope the NFL would win in totality, get the year suspension or get the indefinite suspension, which is a minimum of 1 year, get the massive fine. But when it comes down to settlement and compromise, you know what? You lose something, you get something. The NFL got a huge fine that it was able to put on Deshaun Watson, and it still got 11 games, but it also gave up potential of a full season of a suspension. So I'm not entirely surprised by this. I think it should be at least a full season because just the sheer volume of the amount of women that came out and said that Deshaun Watson did this to them. It just people like the Sue Robinson said there's nothing criminal there. Right? It's okay. Maybe the evidence isn't there to say it's criminal, but he already went through the court saying that there was nothing criminal. But you had 24 women came out and said similar things and stuck to the story.
Well, is he settled with all of them, or does he still have
every single one has been settled.
Every single one.
One has been settled.
Yeah.
So I think full season plus, at least 1 season plus. I'm not gonna say I'm disappointed, but the way the NFL handled this, I think they could have been a little bit sterner.
I agree. I think he got lucky. That's what I said.
Yeah. I'm surprised Roger Goodell didn't put his hammer down on it and say, I'm making this decision. Because he did that with Brady on Deflategate. He screwed up the Ray Rice situation. I think only suspended him for like 2 games or something like that. Kareem Hunt, there was a situation with him. Tyreek Hill. There was all these situations that Goodell absolutely screwed on, but he was his decision. So I think Goodell, I'm not exactly happy with the way that Goodell handled this. I think it could have been much harsher, and he should have been much harsher on Deshaun Watson just because of the sheer volume of cases that there were. I mean, if 24 people came out and said that you did this to them, and you're gonna say, no, I mean, we don't have enough evidence. It's crazy. It's unprecedented, the situation, but we're only gonna give you 11 games and say $5 million out of your 230 fully guaranteed. So it's a slap on the wrist, essentially.
I agree.
Deshaun Watson's camp after the 6 games, they were coming out here and cheering basically because they knew they got off light. And you know what? I bet there's
with no fine.
Yeah, I bet they're still happy right now because it's not a full season plus.
Right.
So I'm sure Deshaun Watson's camp is pretty happy about that. I want to move on to our next topic. Rodgers. We talked about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers and how unhopeful we are for the Packers this year. He's been pretty rough on his rookie receivers. There was a play by 4th-round rookie, I forgot his name, something Dobbs. And basically, Aaron Rodgers had a beautiful throw, and he sort of dropped it, but he's a 4th-round rookie, so you got to cut him some slack. And Aaron Rodgers didn't help the situation by, at his media session at the end of practice saying, well, that was my best. I'm not going to call out a player, but there was a throw, and it was my best throw of all of practice. So he's basically hinting at, this guy screwed me over. Aaron Rodgers commented saying about his receiving core, the young guys, especially the young receivers, we've got to be way more consistent. A lot of drops, a lot of bad route decisions, running the wrong route. So we've got to get better in that area. This rough opinion has actually sparked up so much drama over the media is that there was actually a meeting between Rodgers and the wide receivers. I believe it was yesterday or the day before, but it wasn't even called by Rodgers. It was the upper office that we're presuming called the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Rodgers didn't even try to fix it himself.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me.
So
it's not his style, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. So do you think Rodgers was being too critical of his receivers, or do you think he's right to be that harsh on his young receivers that are rookies?
This is professional football.
That's true,
right? You're in it to win, and if they aren't performing up to an excellent standard, then he has the right to speak up about it. I would think, though, that he would keep it in-house. I don't know how it got out into the media, but that's something that should stay in-house. That shouldn't be something that we'd be talking about. He should have kept it quiet. Should have talked to them individually instead of having it out in the media now and getting everyone all shaken about it. I think that has potential for disrupting the locker room.
Right. Right, and I think the way Rodgers handles certain situations is sometimes very frustrating because he says these crazy things. He goes out and says one thing, and then
we know all about him. We know what he's like. He's not. This is not surprising.
No, it's not
right?
surprising
not surprising at all. It's just it's unfortunate because it doesn't build a team camaraderie. It's something that could be fixed behind the scenes, and it could be a positive moment for them instead of turning it into something negative, which it is now. It's a negative.
Right.
Right.
Right. I feel like a lot of quarterbacks that are,
Brady would never do
phenomenal leaders. Rodgers is a decent leader. He's actually no. He's.
I don't think he's a great leader.
He's a great blame deflector. If there's ever something that
that's not a good good sign of a leader.
And this is kind of what he's doing. He's not a great leader would take him aside and say away from cameras, away from everything, and that's when you say, you know what, here's what we got to do. I expect this from you, so you got to give me this in order if we're going to succeed. If we keep making plays like this, we'll be 7-10. But if you just make these plays, we could make it to the playoffs and win our division.
Yeah.
That's what a good leader would do. A good leader wouldn't go to the media and say, "Well, you know what? A lot of the young receivers,
Is that how we did it? He did it just to the media.
Yeah, to the media.
That to me is the wrong way to handle it.
He said he's basically hinted at one specific player and one specific play too. He said, "I'm not naming any names, but there was a throw and everyone knows what the throw was." And he's my best throw of
to me.
practice.
That was the wrong thing to do. That's stupid.
He's going through his entire cleansing process. He's taking psychedelic drugs to get in tone with his body and everything. He took like ayahuasca or something. I don't even know.
What is that?
I don't even know, but it makes you hallucinate and throw up and stuff like that.
That's a smart move.
It's a very weird psychedelic drug to get more in tune with his body, to make him feel great for perspective. Rodgers is a weird dude. Rodgers is a weird dude.
Yeah.
His whole life is a crazy situation.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to try to understand. Not even to fully.
He enjoys it being that way. He wants a persona like that.
Right.
I think he tries to make. He works on that to be like that.
Yeah.
No.
I
don't think it's conducive to the locker room, and he hasn't won a Super Bowl for a long time.
7-9 in the
7-9 in the playoffs. I think maybe he ought to try a different formula. And I don't think he's going to. Why does he care now? He's making $50 million a year for 3 years, guaranteed.
Right. Your main receiver that has been with you since 2014, at his first chance to leave, took it.
Yeah.
And went to join a friend he actually had, who he played with in Fresno State, and Derek Carr. He played with you for 7 years. And the first chance he got to leave, he said, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, well, he got more money to go, right? They tried to franchise. They gave all the money to Rodgers and tried to franchise tag Dante.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, right?
The deal was actually relatively similar, so it wasn't.
But they were franchise tagging him, and he didn't want that, right?
Right.
What did he get with the Raiders? He got a great deal with them, right?
Yeah.
So he got more money. He wound up with a lot more money, so that makes sense why he would leave for more money. But yeah, he did. He bolted. Yeah.
So that really showed, and I think Aaron Rodgers. It's a lot of great quarterbacks actually. When you get established in the NFL, you don't have time to be teaching young receivers. So on that aspect of hating on Rodgers, I kind of have to agree with him because you're there to win games, not mentor, not basically to show around receivers. If you're growing up like a first to 3 to 4 year quarterback in the league, and if you're a fourth year quarterback and you get a rookie receiver, you guys could grow up in the league together. If you're a 15-year player, you don't want to deal with 20-year-olds. You just want to get established receivers and play. Brady doesn't do that.
Oh, I don't know. I think Brady he is a team player. He tries to build consensus. He's there for the young players. He talks to the young players. Who
did he go to? Did he stay in New England and work with N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers?
Well, that's different.
He went to Tampa Bay within a. Think about who he got though. He didn't get any young receivers when he first came to the Bucs. He got AB. He got Gronk. He brought in Lenny. Not even a rookie running back. He brought in Lenny.
Yeah.
He made Lenny the running back one on the Bucs.
May have been a little frustrated by the talent he had around him in New England. He was the talent, and he made the people around him better. I think he wanted to have a little more talent committed before he picked the new team he went to, and the Bucks had the talent.
That could be, but it was also it was the Miami thing too. It was Bucks or Miami.
But I think he makes an effort to get along with everybody on the team. I don't think that he's that's a divisive. He's not a divisive person in the locker room.
It's not about who he makes friends with. It's about who he trusts. In the 2-minute drill, fourth quarter situation, down by 6, maybe going for that drive. Then he goes to people he trusts, not necessarily young receivers.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, I think Tyler Johnson is probably the closest super young receiver that he trusts. Because he made a great catch in the Saints game, the Saints playoff game, to seal the win there. He made a couple good catches against Green Bay in their Super Bowl playoff run. So he makes some important catches there late in games or when it matters. So I think Tyler Johnson would probably be, a young receiver that he trusts. But
like Scotty Miller, right? How old is he? He's not around.
Scotty Miller's like 28 years old. He got into the league long. Or I think 25 years old he got into the league maybe. But I mean, I think a lot of super established quarterbacks don't want to deal with super young receivers because then you're established. Maybe you've won a Super Bowl or two, and you have to deal with 20-year-olds who are like trying to learn the NFL. So I'm sure with Rodgers is a whole different breed of, the problem is that he doesn't have really any other receivers to throw it to. So he needs to deal with these younger receivers. He has Sammy Watkins, who doesn't stay healthy very often, and he has Alan Lazard, who's a wide receiver 3 or 4 on most other teams. That's not the Green Bay Packers. Because he's right now listed as the wide receiver 1 on the Packers depth chart, Alan Lazard. And if Alan Lazard is your number 1, you don't have a very good team.
No.
Your receiving core is...
He's starting to recognize that now.
Yeah.
That he got all the money, and now the pieces they can put around him are not as good as they could have been.
Right.
So, tough luck, Aaron. Right?
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be back in just 1 second. Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey, once again. We're going to move on to our next topic. We're going to go to the NBA. LeBron James has signed a 2-year, $97 million extension with the Lakers with a third year, which would be a player option if he decides to stay for a third year. This $97 million extension could actually get up to about $111 million. LeBron James, I think at this point, knows the chances of the Lakers winning a title with this roster is essentially zero. You have AD, who can't stay healthy, Russell Westbrook, who can't hit a shot, and who looks like a gigantic shell of himself, nowhere near the explosive, athletic player he used to be, getting triple-doubles year after year after year, or even game after game after game. He could barely shoot the ball, period. Hits the side of the backboard. Just horrible shot taking. That's why they named him Westbrick.
I didn't know that. Westbrick.
Are you surprised that LeBron has sort of kind of settled into Los Angeles and saying, you know what, this might be my final resting place in the NBA? Are you surprised at all by this?
At $97 million for 2 years? No. I don't know who else. Do you think anybody? What other kind of deal? Was he up? Was his deal up, or is it just they're extending the deal that he had?
I believe this was last year.
This coming year was his last year.
This year
so
would
extended
be his last year.
2 more years for $97 million.
With the possibility of a
What's
of a
the third? The option year. What kind of money does he get for that year?
I'm not sure. I could look it up, but still,
That's a
though,
lot of money. It's
No, it
almost
is.
$50 million a year.
yeah.
I can understand why he took it. You know. So, he'll be 39 years old in 2 years.
He
He's
turns 38 on December 30th.
So it'll be 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's getting pretty old for someone in the NBA. I think that this could be his last. Could be it. I mean, he'll play beyond that, but whether he'll be a force like he's been until now, I think that's hard to predict. Well, I would say he probably won't be as great a force as he's been up until now.
It would be unprecedented if he's still even somewhat of the same force he was even this past season. This past season, he was about to win the scoring title. So the fact that he's, at 37 years old, still putting up great numbers like this, scoring a lot of points. His shooting percentage and free throw percentage is not high at all. It was not pretty. But the fact that he's just shooting or like scoring this many points and still
That's
being
because he
scores-
drives. Most of his shots are layups. I see a lot of his shots are right around the basket, real close to the basket. He tries to get inside. Whether he's going to have the stamina and the energy to play like that for 2 more years, we'll see. Plus, older players they tend to get hurt. He could start having some injuries, some serious injuries here.
He did have a pretty bad injury last year. He only played 56 games, but the year before he only played 45 games. So it's going to be interesting to see because we all know his goal. Everybody knows his goal at this point. It's to play with Bronny. That's his only goal, and Bronny.
I don't think this is his only goal. He wants to be in the playoffs and make the champ.
Well, in that case, he would go to a team that's ready to make the playoffs.
Make the championship series.
The Lakers are not going to go to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I'm giving a 0% chance.
Maybe there's a move or two they can make before the season starts.
And the only move would be to get rid of Russell Westbrook. And no team wants him. Nobody wants Russell Westbrook because they're
going to try to get Kyrie Irving.
Russell Westbrook's getting paid $46 million to miss shots. That's how much he's getting paid. $46 million to miss shots, to hit the side of the backboard and turn the ball over almost the most in the league.
Maybe he'll have a better year this year.
I don't doubt it at all because what he did last year, people don't look at the average year to year because they're like, oh my god, a triple double. Oh my god, the triple record, the triple double record got broken. Oh my god, he's averaging another triple double. Oh look at that, he got 20 rebounds. When really these stats, they're the same every year. Every year he's been doing this. This past year was just a replica of all of his past years. It's just the fact that he's older now. He's not explosive. He's not making explosive plays, getting a lot of triple doubles. So everyone's exposing him for what he is. And besides, the Lakers are a huge market compared to OKC. So he's really in the spotlight now.
Yeah.
So I think his one of, I mean, obviously this year he'll pass Kareem's record. We all know that. He's I think a couple thousand points away, a couple hundred points away. He'll probably get it by mid-season. He'll break the record. The last thing he needs to do, he's won 4 NBA titles. He's won a plethora of MVPs. He won Rookie of the Year.
Does he have 4 NBA titles? He had 2 with Miami.
2 with Miami.
1 with Cleveland and 1 with Lakers.
Yeah. He's won. I mean, he literally has a feat of every team I've been on, I've won a championship with.
It's pretty good.
He's won many All NBA defensive teams. He's won I think 18. He's been to 18 All-Star games. Been to I think 18 All NBA teams. So the awards list for LeBron is fully solidified. I mean, there's nothing else you can really do in the NBA that LeBron hasn't done already. I consider
win a
this,
couple more championships.
Yeah, maybe, but with the Lakers team, that ain't gonna happen. Period. Because the Lakers roster is not set up to win championships.
Well,
at all.
I'm saying, as I say, maybe they'll make a move. Maybe they'll try to get. I mean, Kyrie Irving would be the player that they could bring in that would make them more competitive. If his head is screwed on straight, which we've talked a lot about in prior shows, and we think it probably isn't, but playing with LeBron might discipline him a little bit more.
Well, Kyrie Irving stated like about a couple weeks ago that he never really even said he wanted to leave the Nets.
Oh yeah.
So who knows if he's even going to move? I mean, he signed his player option, so he's going to be there.
Yeah.
The question is though next year, but
they know Durant doesn't want him. But Durant doesn't want to. Who knows what's going to happen there? That's a mess.
Yeah, Kevin, the
That's a
entire
total
situation is
mess.
It's the net situation's the weirdest one right now.
Well, that's what you get when you bring in the superstars. You better win, because if you don't, they get disgruntled pretty quick.
But that's the problem with KD. He was winning with the Warriors. It was him, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry.
I'm sure he regrets
and they
leaving.
were winning.
Probably
I don't think
regrets
so.
it.
I don't think so because I think he said, well, I was the best player on the Warriors, but it was Curry's team. Why was that? I think that's why he left. It's because he wanted to win a championship with the name Kevin Durant under it, not Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. He wanted to be Kevin Durant.
Well, that doesn't seem like that worked out very well for him.
It didn't work out, and he's trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
He gave the Nets an ultimatum. It's me or the GM and coach. You decide, owner.
Yeah.
Joe Tsai. You decide basically how you want this organization to run. Through me or through them.
Yeah.
And I think you said it would run through KD. I said it's going to be running through the GM and the head coach.
So far those guys are still there, so they haven't canned them yet.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
It'll be
When's the season start? It's coming. They must be starting the practicing pretty soon.
Early October, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't think. I mean, okay. LeBron staying with the Lakers, that only means one thing, right? His family's settled there. You know, LeBron's sons, they grown up there. So I really think they're settled. He's gonna stay. I mean, I really believe the only reason why he signed this extension, he's acknowledged, I'm not gonna win a championship. I'm just here to break the record and play with my son. Because in recent memory, the only other player to do that was Ken Griffey. Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr. played on the same team in the late 90s.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one father-son duo that played. Recently.
Really? Recently, but there have been others,
probably
right?
within 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's going to do that for sure. Yeah.
Well, it depends on it depends on if the Lakers draft Bronny in what 2024.
Well, we'll see if his son is any good. I mean, whether he turns out to be a player that can play in the NBA. He must feel a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you think he's going to feel a lot of stress? How tall is he? What position does he play?
He plays point guard. I think he's 6'3".
6'3".
LeBron's younger son, though, Bryce.
Yeah.
He's actually taller than Bronny.
I see.
I think he's 6'6". And he's only 15 years old.
Wow.
So if LeBron plays, well, let's see, if he does the player option for 2024-5, then if he just extends it 2 more years, he'll be able to play with the second son too. So he'll be what?
Maybe they can get all three of them.
We're talking about 43, 44 years old. LeBron would be.
Yeah. Well, then he'll be coming off the bench, I think. It's a 6th player or something like that.
We got Melo sometimes starting in games. I don't think LeBron is going to be coming off the bench anytime soon.
Yeah.
But then again, Carmelo Anthony kind of accepted the fact that, yeah, I'm not where I used to be. So I guess he was okay with coming off the bench. So it's definitely an interesting situation. We're gonna go back to the NFL right now. Baker Mayfield. We have very exciting news for us. Baker Mayfield is the presumed starter for Week 1 against his former team, the Cleveland Browns. The Browns will be without Deshaun Watson due to that 11-game suspension that we talked about earlier. And thus, Jacoby Brissett will be the starter. Jacoby Brissett has started for teams like the Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, the Colts, and now he'll start for the Cleveland Browns. Are you surprised by this news about Baker Mayfield beating out Sam Darnold?
Not at all.
What do you expect from this Week 1 matchup?
Not at all. I'm not surprised at all. Baker Mayfield is a quality quarterback. He's had some hard luck with getting hurt, and people not really giving him full support. I don't think he got that with the Browns, and now he's in a better spot. I think, particularly if McCaffrey is out there playing with him, and I'm not surprised at all that they named him the number 1 starter. And I do think that they will stomp the Browns in Game 1.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever the point spread is, I pick them to beat it. Yeah, and I'll be watching that game as long as it doesn't conflict with the Patriots on TV. I want to see that game, and I'll be rooting for Baker Mayfield to beat the Browns into the ground.
The one thing I agree that the Panthers are going to win, but the one thing I'm nervous about is the Browns offensive line versus Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, who I believe was close to leading the league in sacks, just even if he wasn't, he's just an extremely dominant force for the Browns.
Yeah.
I think he's going to wreak havoc on the offensive line. They're going to need to double him.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield, many times, I think, will need to slide up in the pocket or look to scramble away from Myles Garrett. Because
He has that capability. He has that capability, Baker Mayfield. He can scramble.
In the preseason game. He used it in the preseason game.
He can scramble.
I do think they'll win. If I had to guess right now, my guess would be that the point spread would be about 3.
Really? You think so? That's small?
And I would take the Panthers, regardless if they're favored or not. I would take the Panthers plus or minus 3.
Yeah.
Because I think the Panthers are going to win regardless. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see how Baker Mayfield plays. As long as his emotions don't get the best of him, if he could channel in maybe some of that like, I'm here now and I'm going to prove to you how good I am. If he channels that in and uses it to, be dominant and not let that go to his head, I think that'll be very interesting to see how he plays because he's healthy now. He looked great in that preseason game. There was high velocity on the passes, good decision making, directing offense. He had a couple mishaps. There was a fumble at the line of scrimmage as soon as the snap. There was a fumble and there was just one bad throw near the goal line. But I like the look of Baker Mayfield this year, and he looks great in the Carolina blue. He looks very, very nice in the Carolina blue. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with the Harvey Hotline. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We're going to do a new little segment that I like to call the Harvey Hotline. So let's begin. We got my brother on, Jets fanatic, Mets loyalist, John Harvey. Welcome back to the show.
Happy to be here, Nate.
Great to hear from you. I want to start off this topic, or the first topic that I want to start off with is the Mets, because we don't talk a lot of baseball on the show. The Mets have been looking very... Hold on. The Mets have been looking very, very good lately. Sorry about that. With Edwin Diaz being a phenomenal closer, absolutely dominant. He has an over a 50% strikeout ratio to the batters he faces. What are your expectations for the Mets thus far? Because they are third in total MLB. They're ranked third. They have a run differential of plus 117, which is absolutely absurd with the way the Mets have been playing recently. Being disappointments, not being that good, and let alone the fact the Mets start off the season without DeGrom and without Scherzer, and still were very dominant. So, what's your reaction to the season thus far, and what's your expectations for the next couple weeks that the MLB season wraps up?
I've been impressed with how they've played thus far. I am a little bit worried about them of late due to just their struggles against the Braves. I certainly didn't like to see them lose 3 of 4 there, 2 of the losses being pretty sizable.
Right.
But overall, I think they have a relatively easy schedule going forward, and I feel pretty good about them at the very least making the playoffs.
Okay.
But I think the Braves have shown that they're still very much in the divisional race as well.
I think the Braves are probably the scariest team for you guys besides the Dodgers. But obviously they're getting into the playoffs. They're obviously going to win. My guess is they'll probably win out their division. Do you expect them to go far in the playoffs at all, or do you expect them to kind of fizzle out like usually the Mets have, in their history?
I think that they definitely have a good shot to do well in the playoffs. I think it really depends on who they get matchup-wise.
Right.
I think it's important for them to win the division. I don't think that they'll handle a road playoff game well if they end up as a wild card team.
Okay.
Given that the last time they were in a wild card game in 2016, they lost to the Giants. But I think if they're in a position where they could play some home games and get teams that aren't necessarily as good as them, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a Mets fan, if I was a diehard Mets fan, I'd be very, very excited about this season because the Mets are looking great. Their pitching has been very, very good. DeGrom looks great coming off that injury. Scherzer looks good. You got Pete Alonso's hitting phenomenally. He's hitting almost 30 home runs this year. Your bullpen looks good. Edwin Diaz, like I said, over a 50% strikeout ratio based on the batters he's faced. So that is absolutely absurd. Lindor looks great. His first year, people were calling him out for being a disappointment. Not living up to what he was on Cleveland. So Lindor's looking good. I think he's hit over 20 home runs this year so far. So, I mean, do you think they'll make it to the World Series at all? Do you think they might lose before then? What do you think the finality of this Mets season? What do you think it'll come to?
I think if they win the division, they have a good chance to, at the very least, make it to the NLCS. I think that going up against the Dodgers will be incredibly difficult given the skill that their roster holds. But I think as long as they can get some momentum in the first couple of rounds, I feel like they've got at least a chance to make it. I think if they don't end up winning the division, they're in a lot of trouble. This series versus the Braves has really proven that they need to be at home to really thrive against good teams.
I mean, I made kind of a, based on the way New York sports has ended up recently, I kind of made a bold prediction, I guess, saying that the Mets will win the World Series this year against the Astros. But I seriously feel that strongly about them because I feel like they're a seriously dominant team. And like you said, they don't play well again. They don't play well on the road, especially against the Braves. So that's definitely a team to be looking for. But I mean, they had that one game. I think they lost like 13-1. They looked horrible in that game. But besides that, I mean, they did get shot in the following game. But other than that, they kept it relatively close. And in the Braves series, I just think they got outpitched. I didn't think they I don't think they hit well. Their pitching was not there. So they play the Phillies now. I'm going to assume they win the series, and then they move on to the Yankees for their the second series there. They swept the Yankees in the first one, so I fully expect them to beat them again. That would be my prediction for that.
How many games up are they in their division right now?
They're 3.5.
3.5 ahead of the Braves?
Yeah.
And how about the Phillies? Where do they stand?
The Phillies are 10, so not as close.
But the Phillies have been playing pretty well.
They've been playing all right, yeah.
Yeah. So, and what's the rest of their schedule look like?
What we got here? We got the series they're playing today. The Phillies. That's a 4-game series.
That's a pretty hard series, I think.
Yankees for 2 games.
Is Harper? Is he back now, or is he still injured?
I'm not actually sure. I'm actually not sure about Bryce Harper.
He was hurt.
Yeah,
he got hurt. I don't know if he's back yet or not.
Then you got the Yankees, Rockies, Dodgers.
The Yankees will be easy. They're playing terrible.
Yeah, since Joey Gallo left, this curse of Gallo. I think
who's after the Yankees?
Rockies.
They should win those. The Dodgers will be tough.
The Dodgers. I'm really. They're at home. I think for most of these games, actually. Yeah, I think they're at home for actually all of these games. The 4-game series, they're all at home with every single one. I think they might split that series, but the
who's
Dodgers,
after that?
They play the Nationals, Pirates.
That's easy. Pirates, that's easy.
Marlins,
that's easy.
Cubs, Pirates.
Cubs is easy. Pirates.
Brewers, Athletics.
Brewers a little harder. Athletics is easy.
Marlins
is easy.
And then wraps it up with Braves and then Nationals.
Okay, so they've got, John's right, their schedule is pretty easy the rest of the way. They should win the division. I would say the difference, the Mets always, my history watching them, they always generally have decent pitching, and their hitting has always been their problem. This year they got both. The hitting is good and their pitching is really good. If the pitchers can stay healthy, the hitters can continue on the way they are. I think they do have a good chance of making it the World Series. And I think the big difference for them this year is Buck Showalter, having him as their manager.
Right.
I think he's a very high-quality manager. He keeps the team disciplined, focused, and he has a winning attitude. So I think he makes a big difference for them.
Yeah.
And Edwin Diaz, I don't know. He may be great right now. That guy is. He's had some pretty disappointing moments with the Mets. So I'm sure they hold their breath a little bit when he goes out there in a key situation. What's his stats right now?
What?
Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz?
Yeah.
I think he has 20. I want to say 28 saves.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
think
good.
it's 27.
27 saves, and what's his ERA?
1.3.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so
So he has a
he's
much better
pitching
year
lights
this
out.
year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He's had some rocky moments up and down with the Mets. So we'll see. But I think they have a very good chance. I agree.
His strikeout per 9 innings, right? So basically, he's a closer.
Yeah.
So his strikeout per 9 innings, it's 17.9.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't think Buck Showalter's ever won a World Series, though, as a manager.
he's managed the Orioles. So I mean,
Well, he managed the Yankees, too.
yeah. I could actually look that up for you.
I think he's been in the playoffs, but he's never won the World Series.
He's never won the World Series. He's won 3 Manager of the Years though.
Yeah. So he's a good manager. They were smart to pick him up.
All right, I want to move on to our final topic of today. So
wait, John, you have anything more you want to say about the Mets?
any closing remarks?
I think you guys summed it up nicely. I was just going to say that I think Buck Showalter is the best manager the Mets have had in a long time. So
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
I
agree
certainly
with that.
feel pretty good about them on that end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So for the final topic of today, the Jets actually had a pretty good draft. They drafted Sauce Gardner very early on. They drafted Garrett Wilson very early on. They got Breece Hall. They got Johnson on the defensive line. So you guys are looking really, really good. But then you have injuries to Zach Wilson at the quarterback. He'll be out 2 to 4 weeks. Potential missing week 1. Joe Flacco might have to start there, but he's playing very well. And you lost your offensive tackle, Mekhi Becton, again. You lost him again to injury. He's out for the entire year with a, I believe it was a chip fracture in his kneecap. So are you nervous? Are you hopeful for the Jets? What's going on there with as a Jet fan?
I don't expect them to have the best year. I think really what this year is about is Zach Wilson's development and the development of all these other young guys. And depending on how Zach Wilson's injury goes and whether he can stay healthy the rest of the year, I think Jets fans at this point are probably looking potentially at a new GM and a new quarterback next year.
That's kind of shocking, but not necessarily out of the range of what the Jets have done. I mean, Sam Darnold, they drafted him, and within 3 years, they got Zach Wilson. So I really think, the past 5 years, they've had 2 top 3 picks at a quarterback position. So that's not out of the realm of possibility for the Jets, and it's
No,
seriously.
they were smart to get rid of Donald.
No, yeah, no, I
He's
agree.
proven that he's not a starting quarterback caliber player.
But I think the key right now is to keep you guys healthy. Because your kicker's hurt, Greg Zuerlein's hurt, he's questionable. DJ Reed, who is a great pickup for you guys at cornerback, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Connor McDermott, another offensive tackle, he's questionable. So it's about keeping you guys healthy. Because I think if Mekhi Becton, if he stayed healthy, I already said this. The Jets would be third.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins would be in last place.
I think the Jets suffer from bad luck.
Yeah.
They have a lot of bad luck.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson getting hurt, not being able to play in the preseason, I think that's not going to be good for him. He's going to be rusty when he comes back, and he's a young player. He would have benefited from the preseason. So I don't know what he was thinking when he went out there and running on that. He could have just run out of bounds. It's a preseason game,
Right.
Instead, he tried to turn it up the field and hurt his knee. So I think that was I don't think that was a smart move on his part, but I think the Jets.
First time the Jets have made a poor quarterback decision in the preseason.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, right?
Feels
With Mark Sanchez.
Similar to Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, that's true. So I think the Jets have a lot of bad luck, and I think they're in a actually pretty tough division too. Buffalo, and I think the Patriots are good. I know you don't think they're so great this year, but they're going to be playing here in a few minutes, and I'm going to watch the preseason game. Mac Jones is going to play, so that should be fun. And the Dolphins might be better than you think. They went out and got some players.
I don't trust Tua. It's really that simple.
Tua, I don't
Tua.
think is much of a quarterback either.
I
So
don't trust Tua.
they have Tyreek Hill. Whether Tua can get the ball to him or not remains to be seen.
Yeah. I want to get a quick prediction from you, John, because like I said, I chose the Jets to be in third place. I might need to change that now with the injury to Mekhi Becton and with Zach Wilson's potential unavailability because now he started to, tack on some injuries. Where do you think the Jets are going to end up? Last place, third place? What are your hopes for the Jets this year?
I mean, my hope would be that they hang around 500 and their young guys really progress at the rate they expect to. Realistically, I'm expecting probably more of a 4 or 5 win season. The question for me is if the Jets come out of the great gate and lose, say, 6 of their first 7 games, at that point, do you really just evaluate what's gone wrong? And in particular, if Zach Wilson's not playing well, do you then just kind of give up on this year and then look to this upcoming draft, which is a very highly touted draft for quarterbacks, and see what you can get for Wilson before his value totally disappears?
Really? You give up on Wilson after year 2?
Well, I think the Jets have to be realistic about where he really is after 2 years of development. And given that there's not going to be another quarterback year quite like this for some time, I think they need to see if there's somebody available, especially if they end up with a top 1 or 2 pick. If there's somebody available that makes sense for them more than Wilson.
That probably makes sense. I'd say Zach Wilson, he didn't play. He started out very poorly last year, but he did improve. I mean, by the end of the season, he was playing very good ball, and they were in the games, So
you guys kept it close at the Bills game late in the year. I think the problem with the Jets is strictly development. I mean, you guys have so much. I think you guys have a lot of talent, but it's so underdeveloped because the Jets are they're not good at developing players. That's really what I think. Because I mean, just look at the talent you guys had around you for most of like the Jets in general.
What do you think of the coaching staff, John? Do you think they're good or not?
I think that Saleh will improve over time. I think he's a great defensive coordinator who's really just trying to figure out the head coaching position. I don't think he was given the best situation in year 1. I think now that he has a more competent roster in year 2, this will be a better assessment of where he really is.
The one thing I want to see from the Jets is the improvement. They got a lot of good defensive players. Can you stop the run? You guys have the worst rushing defense in the league. The team's averaged 133 yards per game rushing against you guys. I think the first step of improvement is saying, can they stop the run? Because then you'll have a chance at more possessions. Less clock is wasted. So, I mean, Sauce Gardner, I don't think teams will throw it to his side. I think he could have that sort of Darrelle Revis, Deion Sanders effect, just based on tape from college. Nick Saban didn't want to throw it anywhere near him. So I really think if Sauce Gardner even closely replicates what he did in college, I think the Jets could look at a potential another Darrelle Revis on that side.
Oh, I mean, the guy hasn't even played an NFL starting game yet. He's
Strictly based on tape.
Yeah.
Think about that. Nick Saban, Alabama head coach, didn't even want to throw it to his side.
Who did he play for?
I believe he played for Cincinnati.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I have high hopes for Sauce Gardner. As long as New York.
Who are they playing in the preseason this week? The Jets.
Do you have an idea, John? Because I have no clue.
I do not.
I can look it up right now. They are playing the Giants.
The Giants. Well, that should be interesting.
Yeah.
The Giants beat the Patriots.
Actually,
last
no.
week.
I'm sorry. They're playing the Falcons. They're playing the Giants the next week.
Well, they should be competitive in that one. The Falcons aren't much good either.
Falcons. It'll be Desmond Ridder versus Joe Flacco. I guess he's going to start.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco's been looking pretty good. Do you think the Jets might actually stick with Joe Flacco if Zach Wilson experiment implodes?
I think they probably will. I think Saleh is probably starting to sweat a little bit, and the general manager is probably more so nervous that if they don't start to win, their jobs are really on the line this year. So I think they're going to push to do whatever they can, be it starting Flacco, trading for somebody, just to win as many games as they possibly can to make themselves look competent.
I think Flacco's going to start because Wilson's going to be hurt game 1, right?
Yeah.
I think when Wilson's ready to come back, they'll put him back in there. He'll have 3 games to show that he's playing well, and if he doesn't, they'll put Flacco back in there.
Well, if Flacco does start, it'll be against his former team, the Baltimore Ravens. That's their week 1 matchup.
Wow, that's a tough game.
So, I mean, it'll be a real test to see if the Jets defense could stop the run, because the Ravens are a run first team.
Yeah.
All right, John, you have any last closing remarks before I send you off on your way?
I think that's it. I'm hoping for the best for the Mets and Jets this ongoing and upcoming season, respectively, and looking forward to seeing what happens.
All right. Well, it's good to have you on the Harvey Hour, John. I appreciate you coming on.
Good to talk
Happy
to
be
you,
here.
John.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye, John.
You too.
All right, so I think we're going to wrap up the Harvey Hour today. My name's been Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. This is the Harvey Hour. Catch you guys very soon.